off the back of the cage. Sam Girard creates some space for Cogliano. Finally, he clears. Miles Wood in space. He's got some speed. Wood towards the net. He scores! Reach for the sky! The comeback is complete. Miles Wood said, "Run like the wind, bullseye," and he did. He blazed past Miro Heiskanen, and he tucked it in past the post of Ottinger. And he tucks the Stars in to say good night. And you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here because this party is over. Colorado scores 4 straight goals, and they take game 1 by a final of 4-3 in overtime. What a hockey game.
Let him know, Pitbull. Let him know.
Left for dead. 3-0 after 20 minutes of play. Oh no! What happened? Did they catch something from the Nuggets? Oh no! Is this a repeat of game 1 of the first round against the Jets? Oh no, it ain't! 4 unanswered goals for your Colorado Avalanche. Val Nichushkin on the power play. Cale Makar on the power play. Nathan McKinnon just 39 seconds into the third period. And after weathering an absolute hurricane from the Dallas Stars over the first 5 to 7 minutes of overtime, the Avs get their one chance, and that's all they need. A chipped play from Andrew Cogliano in the D zone finds Miles Wood, and with a burst of speed, gets past the guy that the Dallas Stars took 1 pick ahead of, Cale Makar. That's Miro Heiskanen. He burns him and tucks it in the far side. Avs win game 1, 4-3 in stunning fashion, as we welcome you to Between the Pipes, presented by Safeway here on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. I'm your host, Alex Ryan-Emmy. You guys know me better as Raj, joined as always by super producer Steve Nelson tonight. And as always,
like that one?
I love that one, Winnipeg Dave.
Winnipeg Dave, where are you at? Call
you
in.
better call in.
We didn't hear from you in the Winnipeg series.
That voice you hear is my co-host, the radio machine, Mark Springer. Please join us tonight. 303-504-0925 is where you can reach us on the Champ Mazda text line. One price, one person, 1 hour. And as always, you can watch us and join in the chat room, twitch.tv/altitudesr on the Safeway Twitch stream. Mark freaking Springer, what a game.
Oh, we are so back. We are so back. Miles Wood gave me Darren Helm vibes. Now, it was...
Gave me Wood.
There is a snake not only in my boots, there is a snake elsewhere in my clothing right now.
Well, that is quite upsetting.
So, I mean... And yes, the evangelist on Twitter is right. Miles Wood is much faster than Darren Helm, but when we talk about bottom 6 players that you just trust, that play the right way, and they get rewarded for their correct play. And yeah, this is a burst of speed from Miles Wood, and then to handle that puck and go backhand and slide it through that little opening that Ottinger allowed. I mean, what a silky smooth goal from Miles Wood, and that one was in overtime. Darren Helm's against the Blues a couple years ago was at the death in regulation and was a prayer from near the blue line. But nonetheless, the makeup of that team, of the 2022 Cup team, you need players like Darren Helm. You need players like Miles Wood. It was a great free agent signing. We loved it at the time. The Roaring 20s line, win together, had been great this season. Shout out Logan O'Connor. That one was for you. Ross Colton as well. Some injuries have changed the makeup of that line. Andrew Cogliano. I mean, you talk about Darren Helm. Cogliano was on that team. He plays the right way. So, man, it was a sick goal from a deserving player and a player who reminds me of a guy who has that same DNA in Darren Helm. And in a second-round series as well. Blues was a second-round series in 2022. Here's game one of this second-round series, and it's those types of players who can swing a cup run for you.
This game, it started off, it obviously started off uneasy, right? Like you go down 3-0 early on in this thing and it's, oh no, is this going to happen again? Were they not ready to play? Were they actually rusty? The first period, I didn't think they were that bad. It just so happened that, like, maybe you want the Ryan Suter goal back, but it's a pretty good screen. But I think I could put that one on Georgie and go, let's fight through the screen, make sure you can get your glove on that thing. The Wyatt Johnson goal, you're not saving. It goes off Cale Makar. Unless you have foresight, you can't save that puck, right? That's not on the goaltender. And then a 5-on-3 goal from Jamie Benn off the tip. A 5-on-3 you should get scored on, right? And at that point, it felt as though with how well Dallas was playing to that point, and I don't think Colorado was playing poorly, I just think that they were victims of circumstance, that it felt like it was going to be too much to overcome. But if you can find a way to get within 2 goals going into the third period, I think that you would have had a shot. They do one better. They get put on the power play multiple times, and this team continues to roll on special teams. Sure, you give up a 5-on-3 goal, but you did the one thing you needed to do to win this game, win the special teams battle. You killed off 3 of 4 penalties, including half of a 5-on-3, but not the full thing, obviously getting scored on the 2-man advantage, but you score both opportunities on the power play in the second period. Val's there on the spot, gets a rebound. Makar has a gorgeous shot to get you within 1, and then all bets are off, right? McKinnon scores within a minute to the third period, and you just have to hold on at that point because you knew Dallas was going to press. At that point, you know who I hadn't thought about for about 45 minutes of I'll call it 35 minutes of game time? I didn't think about Alexander Georgiev, and he showed up in the third period with monster stops. He showed up in overtime with 10 bell saves when Dallas gave you everything. You were getting hemmed the entirety of the start of OT. You couldn't win a faceoff. You couldn't get the puck out of the zone. And Georgiev makes 3 all-time saves, including that backdoor save on his left pad on Tyler Seguin, which is probably the best one, and then the short side save on Wyatt Johnston. Those 2 things saved the day, and you knew it was just a matter of time that the Avs were going to get a chance. Could they bury on it? Who was it going to be? Miles Woods ends up being the answer.
You know, I'm disappointed in myself that this didn't cross my mind at the end of the first period. But as the Avs tied it early in the third period, and they're down 3-0, I mean, it dawned on me, and I've referenced this game on this show many times this season. And in the back half of the season, when I talk about the Avs' resiliency and all of the poor stretches that the Avs would have, mixed in here and there. They had a couple. Certainly after the 9-0-0 stretch, and then whatever the hell it was after that, I can't even remember because I don't care anymore. But I say, look, one of the games I would reference was on November 18th in Dallas. The Stars led 3-0 on a Saturday. I believe it was a Saturday. And the Avs came back and won 6-3. I'm disappointed that I didn't think of that when they were down 3-0 to give me added confidence that they could do it once again. But here it is, twice in the same season, down 3-0 in Dallas. They come back and win, this time in overtime, not by 3 goals, but still, okay? So it's a very resilient team. They had that 8-2 loss to the Blues. They bounced back. They lost 7-0 in Vegas. They bounced back. This team is freaking putty, okay? They are rubber, you are glue. What bounces off of them sticks to you. They bounce back. I'm just riffing here. I don't even know what I'm saying because this game is freaking awesome. But it happened again. Okay, so the Stars are up 3-0 at the end of the first. Oh my God, sky is falling. Holy crap. They allowed 7 goals in Winnipeg in game 1 and then won the next 4. Okay, this game was in Dallas. They had home ice. If they ended up routing the Avs in this game, I assure you, I would have come on this show and I would have told you that this series is not over and that there is a long ways to go. Fortunately, we didn't have to do that. I am sure I would have heard a ton of pushback. Oh, this is over. Oh my God, Alexander Georgiev. Yeah, blah 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 blah. No, this team, they spared me. Thank you so much for just getting the comeback done in this game, because a loss wouldn't have deterred me. Now they steal home ice right off the bat, and that's brutal for Dallas.
Brett, that is a gut punch.
Yep.
After coming off of the high of a Game 7 win where you started off that series not being able to win at home, and then you hold on for dear life against the defending Stanley Cup champions, right? Like the team that had ousted you and kept you from truly competing for a cup over the past couple of years. That's who Vegas is to Dallas. Coming off of that high and regaining your home ice advantage or your momentum, just to have this happen has to feel like a huge punch below the belt. And you simply cannot count the Avs out. And that's what's very special about this team. Spring, ask and you shall receive. Waiting patiently on hold, our friend Winnipeg Dave. Dave-o, what do you got?
Bro, my God. So I missed you guys after the Winnipeg thing. I was a little bit, happy with my Avs buddies and all that. But it was a big 2 middle finger salute to all of Winnipeg for being so cocky, thinking that they were just going to sweep us. Well, no, actually, we gave you one. We gave you one to feel all happy, and then we swept you. Because in the playoffs, that's where the big boys come out and play. And tonight, we had a little bit of spaghetti legs. It's given. After sweeping them, take a little bit of vacation, because that's what happens when you sweep a team. But we dominated that. Georgie, my God, brother, that guy, his confidence is back. Our team is back. We continue playing like this because we're not relying on McKinnon. We're not relying on Makar, Ratnan, Miles Wood, brother. Miles Wood. The unforgettable guy puts it in the net, and now Ottinger's like going, okay, so are we going to team up our third line against McKinnon, or are we going to do the same thing that Winnipeg did, or are we going to put our number one line against their number one line? Wake up and smell the roses.
Appreciate the call as always, Winnipeg Dave.
Chef's kiss.
Chef,
Great
you
call.
can't get any better
A+.
than that. You can't. Again, text in 303-504-0925 on the Shop Mazda text line and join our friends in there. Hearing from Nick, so refreshing with that win. Thought it was going to be a repeat of the Nuggets last night, but nope. Comeback kids coming up huge to steal game one. It's so big for the state of Colorado. After I felt the Nuggets loss until puck drop tonight. It was heavy on me. It ruined my day. And starting off 3-0, I was on, my wife's not home right now, right? So I watched this game from home, much like you did. We're going to be out at Parker Garage on Thursday for a watch party. Myself, Mark Springer, Mark Bertinoli for game 2. So make sure you guys get out there with our friends from Templeton. Again, Parker Garage on Thursday for a watch party with Between the Pipes and Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. I was FaceTiming my wife. She's out of the state on a work trip. And I was in a horrible mood. I didn't say anything to her because at the time that I pushed the green button on my phone, the Avs had just gotten scored. They had just taken the 5-on-3 penalty, and I'm narrating the game to her. I'm like, yeah, they're playing okay, but they're down 2-0. Doesn't feel great. They just took a 5-on-3, and as I said 5-on-3, Jamie Benn buries the puck 3-0, and my mood just plummeted.
Can we give a shout out to Josh Manson for keeping that puck out of the net in the last 10 seconds of the first period? And at the time, I didn't think much of it because they were down 3-0, and I was a little distracted just with. I don't want to get overly exaggerated here, but I don't want to use a word like despair or something like that. But I was a little bummed. A little bummed, down 3-0, and then the you saw what the Nuggets what they did last night. But you look back on that, and another thing that maybe should have given me even more confidence going into the second period was Manson keeping that puck out. And the save that he had in that same Blues series that I referenced earlier in this segment, where he occupied an open cage that Darcy Kemper was beat on, and he saved a goal. So that's two. That's two from Josh Manson in his 2 years plus with the Avalanche. Man, what a save percentage in the playoffs he has. That's a 1,000 on the save percentage from Josh Manson right there.
Monster save from him. You got contributions up and down the lineup today. Obviously, Val Nichushkin scoring in his 6th straight game. That is a franchise record for most to start a postseason. The franchise record is 7 straight at any point in a postseason. Cale Makar becomes the highest scoring D-man in franchise history for the playoffs. He has a 3-point night, 1 goal, 2 assists. So the big names are there. Multi-point nights from Mikko Rantanen and Nathan MacKinnon. All of those guys that I just mentioned have points in every single Avs game thus far in the postseason. But one guy who played 26-50 tonight, 1 assist, Sam Girard was excellent in the D zone. He was on Tyler Seguin the entire night and bodied him up, was within a stick length the entire time. For a guy that gets eviscerated for having a lack of physical play, and he does at some points, right? Like he's not great at clearing the net front, but when he is physically engaged, when he is on top of the puck and playing like he did tonight, he is worth every penny of $5 million, and he showed it this evening. He was excellent.
I mean, I was just going to read this text. Sean Mazda text line, 303-504-0925. This text from Aaron in Foco. He texted in, Sammy G's defensive play was fantastic. Loved how he got physical and in lanes. Yeah, he was sound, positionally sound in this game. Obviously, he's a smaller defenseman, so it's all going to be about positioning with a guy like him, and he was where he needed to be. He didn't get crossed up. He was bodying up. He laid 5 hits in this game, did Sam Girard. I thought Sean Walker played very well as well. He laid 5 hits in this game. So this undersized D-core, we've talked about it for a couple years now, and it is a weakness of this team. Girard and Walker are lighter defensively. But now Sean Walker, having been here for a couple months and understanding the system and where everybody's supposed to be and how they want to angle and attack and all of that stuff, Sean Walker was great. Sam Girard has been in this system for years. He understands how to play in a D pair with Josh Manson as well. So both those guys, for what they lack in size, they make up for with IQ.
Aussie Matt is currently at his desk at work right now. Got in trouble a little bit when they scored the winner because he gave a little selly. The Aussies just don't get what we're working with here. Yeah, the ice was bad, the 299 there. The ice wasn't great. Again, it's American Airlines Center. It's never had phenomenal ice, but
I think it was 90 degrees in Dallas
yeah,
today.
Man, that's the way she goes. Like the ice in Florida at this point of the year isn't great either. It's funny. Like you spend so much money on refrigeration systems and it's the highest level of hockey that like you still can't compete against Mother Nature when it decides to be late spring. You can't do it. Listen, I thought that this game taught me a lot about what I think this team can do in the postseason. It feels special. It feels like they're never out of it. And that's one thing that separates contenders from true champions, is when you don't have an A game you can win. And I thought they played well tonight, but I don't think it was an A game. I think it was a B or a B plus at the very best. Again, you had to hold on for dear life against a team that had just played 7 games and finished game 7 48 hours ago. You had to hold on for dear life in overtime when you had the fresh legs at that point, right? Like, I can understand coming out a little bit flat after a week off. That team that you're playing against has a bunch of momentum, so you're not the best team in the first. But those legs for Dallas should have been noodles in that fourth period, right? That overtime period. That's where the Avs should have taken over. You held on, and you didn't have everything. Getting out of that up 1-0 and stealing home ice advantage away in a game that you did not have your A game, phenomenal.
Yeah, I thought they played well at the jump in this game, and then just kind of bam, a couple goals get scored against them. There were also a couple missed calls in the early stages of the first period. McKinnon got held up. I think his stick was held by Essa Lindell. Devon Taves took a stick to the face that was not called. And then with Jamie Benn scoring that power play goal, their one power play goal of the period to put them up 3-0, they get a call. They go on the power play, and it helps them get a 3-0 lead. At the same time, though, with that same token, they're down 3-0. So I'm thinking, well, we'll see if those missed calls end up coming back to haunt this game. And then the Avs get a couple power play goals of their own. Valerian Nichushkin, former Dallas Star, getting the first of the two. And I'm thinking, okay, are those missed calls going to come back to bite them? But I thought they came out well and dipped a little bit. But second period on, for me, for my grade book, I would give them close to an A. I wouldn't give them A+, but I thought they played pretty well and flipped the ice and started to dictate the pace of this game. They were consistently out shooting Dallas. Dallas was only able to even up the shots on goal in the first 5 or so minutes of overtime. The first 5 or so minutes of overtime, plus more like 8 minutes, was primarily played in the Avalanche end. And it was stressful as all hell. I mean, Alexander Georgiev making those 2 huge saves was a sight for pretty eyes right there. But man, I think they played pretty well in this game overall.
I'm not saying they played poorly. I just don't think that they played like A+ Avs hockey. I thought it was.
I don't disagree.
I thought it was good enough, and you found a way to win. That's all that matters. They found a way to win, hearkening back to the slogan of the team that won a cup a couple of seasons ago. Let's head on back to the phone lines. Corin, you are live on 92.5. What's up, man?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, like Merry and Pippin in Isengard in The Lord of the Rings, I sit before you in enemy territory on an ice of victory. Whoop, whoop. Oh, my gosh. What a game. What do you guys want to hear about from me about this game?
Oh, what are you talking about? You called the show. Tell me something about the game.
Wait, hold on, Corin. When I screened your call, I told you were at the game. Tell us what it was like at the game.
Yeah.
I appreciate
your poetry was delightful, I suppose.
Great Lord of the Rings reference, but you're giving us the director's cut. Give me the theatrical release, brother.
You got to come prepped with something.
Right,
What you got?
Right,
come on.
All right. I got you. The distant Gastesia Spears came out strong and heavy. But then the Colorado Avalanche showed up in the late second period and the third period and overtime and flipped the ice so much. My goodness, we stole puck possession away from them in the third period. Like we spent 14 minutes. Well, not 14, maybe more like 10 or 12 minutes with the puck in that third period. Like 10 or 12 minutes of solid puck possession. And I totally and you could feel the Stars fans getting worried, and I could literally feel the energy from the Avs on that ice here in Dallas, Texas, at the American Airlines Center tonight in that third period. They were so steady and hard fighting in that third period. Like I said, Sammy G was really on fire on defense. Hansen had a couple things, and the craziest part about all this is that, dude, like, this should have been, if it weren't for the heroics of that one Stars player with that awesome defensive recovery and the offensive and their defensive zone, we would have put it past Stavanger for that fourth goal to go up 4-3 in regulation, because we had I don't remember who it was, but we had 2 of our guys almost undefended right in front of Ottinger, but they played that one Stars player. They played hard that one play, got really strong recovery, but then overtime comes and we just poured it on.
Listen,
Okay,
I
hey,
appreciate the call. I think that's where you're about to get it wrong. You didn't pour it on in overtime, and thank you for the call. You got your asses handed to you in overtime. Like, you have to make that very, very clear right now, is that the Avs, why I don't give them an A for this game, is because in a situation where they should have had the legs, they got dominated in OT. And Alexander Georgiev, the biggest question mark maybe in the playoffs this year for a contending team, right? Find another team that has a bigger question mark going into the postseason than Alexander Georgiev. I don't think you can find one, right? Your biggest question mark, the biggest advantage that Dallas proverbially has over you in this series, was the guy that kept you in the game. That's the biggest thing that I can take away from overtime, is Georgie stood on his head. He rose to the occasion. He didn't let 3 early goals get to him. He didn't lose his mind, snap a stick, start beaking. That's what I can take away from overtime.
Which one, which Stars goal was the one where Georgiev kind of like dives behind him to desperately make the save, but it doesn't go, but it goes in anyways. I love that fight from Georgiev. Like, he was engaged. He was doing everything he could to try to keep a puck out. And he was perfect the rest of the way. Doesn't allow a goal in the second or third period or overtime. Much like the Avs, how they stuck with Alexander Georgiev. They had faith in him. We stuck with Corin in that phone call. Like, we gave him the Georgiev treatment. We believed in him.
Director's cut. Director's cut was in the back of my head from Nelly the whole time. I love you, Corin.
We might have to go to on the next one, if you know what I'm saying.
Avs win 4-3 in overtime. We'll take a quick timeout, get back to more of your texts, your Twitch messages, your calls. Game 1 goes to the Avs on the road in Dallas. It's Between the Pipes, presented by Safeway. Save big this Mother's Day at Safeway. Celebrate mom with fresh cut flowers and chocolate dipped strawberries. Shop in-store or on the Safeway app to discover great deals. More Between the Pipes next.
Blocked to the far wall, and now Lehkonen will get it up and out for the Avs. Nice play by Lehkonen. There's no icing. Long change here in overtime. The Avalanche needed it in the worst way. Now Sam Steele towards the net. Tipped on, save made by Georgiev. That by far is his best save of the night. Great savings with Alexander Georgiev as Tyler Seguin was headed towards the net front. It was a set play from Steele. Tipped on by Seguin, and Georgiev stood tall, made the initial save, and covered up the rebound. Taves on the near side wall. Heiskanen sends it back to where it came from. Steele escapes. Seguin shadowed by Walker. Trennan assisting, centering feed. Seguin. Oh, what a save! Oh, what a save by Georgiev! Left pad saves the day. Or the very, very late night for the Colorado Avalanche. Seguin had the game on his stick, and Alexander Georgiev did the splits and said, go, gadget pad. The left leg is a stanky leg.
It's still technically a 2K Tuesday, Steve Nelson. We've got about 3.5 minutes to go. As we welcome you back to Between the Pipes, Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. We're presented by Safeway. Alex Ryanemi alongside Mark Springer. The stanky leg. I didn't know Connor McGay. He knew what that song was.
Let's get weird.
It's not really his genre.
This is a stanky night out there in Dallas. You had the stanky leg. You had Stank Oven on the ice. Who's got a stanky oven? Man. The stank is out in full force. Hell
That
yeah.
had to be such a tough name to grow up with. Like, before he became an elite athlete, right? Because he's a small guy, Logan Stankoven.
Uh-huh.
Stankoven.
I know. I pronounce it stank.
What a tough life that kid had to have up
It's
until he
all
was
right.
14, and apparently he was the best hockey player.
No, I bet all his friends called him Stanky. And they had fun. Like, it was cool. When Stanky showed up, not so cool for him tonight. Not a cool night for Stanky Oven in the gang.
Did you know that Miles Wood, his overtime goal tonight, his first overtime goal of his professional hockey career? Actually, I don't know what he's done in the American Hockey League, but National Hockey League career, first overtime winner, regular season, preseason, or postseason. His dad, Randy, in the 1995 conference quarterfinals, also scored an overtime winner in Game 6.
Miles Wood?
Miles Wood's dad, Randy, scored an overtime winner in the 1995 conference quarterfinals with the Maple Leafs. They are the sixth father-son duo to each score an overtime winner in a playoff game. He joins Peter and Paul Stastny, Brett and Bobby Hull, Peter and Max McNabb, our old buddy Pete, may he rest in peace, Nick and Mike Foligno, and Sam and Paul Reiner.
Miles Wood's father's name is Randy Wood.
Randy Wood.
Randy Wood.
He sure is.
Phrasing?
I got some Randy Wood right now.
Hey, phrasing!
Do I make you Randy?
You took that out of the stat that I just gave you that has our dear departed old friend Peter McNabb in it, who, by the way, 2 overtime goals. You take Randy Wood out of it.
That's what I took. That was my
This is why I
takeaway.
love you. This is why the show works.
Oh, behave.
Yeah, Steve Nelson gets it.
There's nothing better than Between the Pipes after an overtime win in the playoffs at
Are we
midnight.
after dark yet? We're 2 minutes away from midnight here.
We're pretty good there. Alexander Georgiev tonight was excellent. Keeping it to 3 or fewer is going to be one of the keys in this series. If you can keep it to 3 or fewer, there is not a team in the world that can beat you. Not a team left in this bracket that can beat you if it's 3 or fewer. And the fact that he lets in 3 early, I know the save percentage, like the number's not going to look great. But if you just look at the stats tonight, you're not going to see the overall story of Alexander Georgiev, because he was, in my mind's eye, he's probably the number 2 star tonight for the Avs. And Bedsy, the guys at DNVR caught this on like an iPhone as the Avs were walking into the locker room, and everyone's, hooting and hollering, and Bedsy walks in at the same time as Alexander Georgiev. And he walks in and he goes, Georgie, F&A rights, man.
Well, nobody's stood by Alexander Georgiev more than Jared Bednar. How much of that was Onanin's illness?
Say, God bless you.
But I also do think that, and I had said, even as somebody who was pushing for Onanen down the stretch, and this is also as somebody who was as supportive as anybody of Alexander Georgiev for the vast majority of this season. It wasn't just struggles down the stretch. He had struggles throughout the regular season as well. The sub 900 save percentage. There was a ton of conversation about that, and I stood by Georgiev that entire way. For me, it was a timing thing. The playoffs were about to start, and he was on his worst stretch. But I had said I understand why Bednar would stay with Georgiev, because it's one of those things. Like, it's so easy for me and you, Raj, or any fans to say go with Onanen or go with Arvid Holm. Go with Bros Baton.
That's how broken we were. That's how mangled my mind was at the end of the regular season and game one.
But when it's your job and you're getting paid, good money to coach an NHL team, you're gonna want to go with the established veteran, a guy who's 27-ish years old, whatever Georgiev is. I can never keep their ages straight, but he's somewhere in that range. And in year 2 with the Avs, he just provided far more experience and reliability on paper than an Onanen, who I am still very high on. And I was very impressed with Onanen down the stretch, considering his level and his NHL experience. But Bednar stood by Alexander Georgiev, and boy, was he rewarded in round 1, and boy, was he rewarded tonight. You let him know, Bedsy. You let him know. I love it.
Let's head on out back to the phone lines. Chad, you're up first with Raj and Spring. What's up?
Hey, Raj, Spring, I love talking with you guys. You guys connect with the fans so well.
We love talking
We
with
appreciate you.
Awesome. Here's my point. There was a pivotal point in the game where the defense and Georgiev was not eye to eye. But what I was really impressed about was Josh Manson saving the goal when Georgiev was on his back. I couldn't believe it when I saw Josh Manson save that goal. And I think after that goal, or after that save, it was just like things turned around defensively. What do you guys think?
100%. 100%. And, like I had said, I'm disappointed in myself for not seeing that as a possible game-changing play in the moment, even though, it's like, oh, hey, he scored a goal, but it's 3-0. Yeah, Josh Manson does it again. He did it in 2022 in the Blues series. He did it again tonight. I mean, what a trade acquisition he was, what a signing Miles Wood was. Joe Sakic and Chris McFarland continue to, by and large, press all the right buttons. And I referenced, okay, you talk about it wasn't sprawling from Josh Manson, but it was a desperate little, gather of the puck save right at the edge of the crease in the red line from Manson. I'm telling you, the 5-on-3 goal from Jamie Benn, Mikko Rantanen eats a trip. That was questionable. I thought it was a questionable trip, but I get it. It technically was a trip. It was more of just this innocent clip of two dudes running into each other. Fine. You want to call that while letting a couple of missed calls that against the Avs. You want to let those go earlier in the period, whatever. And then Trennan gets called for an obvious high stick. But Georgiev's attitude on that goal, and you're down, it's a 5-on-3 situation. Like, you're in a bad way, and a goal is very likely going in here, and that puck is bouncing around net, and Georgiev dives back into the net to try to keep that thing out, and that's the type of body language and attitude that I want to see beyond breaking sticks and throwing Mikko Rantanen under the bus. That's the want to that I want to see from Alexander Georgiev, and he turns up great. He has the 2 huge saves in overtime. Miles Wood gets the game winner. But Raj, you said that you thought Georgiev was your second star. I have my first star in mind, and it's not Georgiev, and it's not Wood. As amazing as everything they did was Wood your first star?
No.
Mine is Cale Makar.
Mine's Cale.
Let's talk about Cale Makar.
Everything changes with Cale Makar. The fact that he's able to mishandle a puck on the first goal of the game, it ends up working out for him, but he stays with it. He's behind the puck when that happens, still makes a heads-up, composed play that allows Nichushkin to score on a rebound, and then immediately after that, he keeps a puck in on the power play, which is it happens right before he ends up shooting this puck, right? Dallas thinks they've gotten out of the zone. They're able to exhale just a little bit, and then, oh crap, Cale keeps the puck in, and instead of panicking, throwing it back down to the corner, giving it back to McKinnon, he does what he does best in the world. No one else walks the blue line like him with his feet outside the zone. Walks outside the blue line, takes his ice toward the net, and then rips one past Ottinger. To have that weapon on the blue line, make sure that you're not out of any game that you play in, right? Especially if your opponent continues to take penalties. That's the one thing that killed Dallas tonight. You took 2 back-to-back penalties against one of the hottest power plays in the game. And Cale's playing at the top of his powers right now for a guy that, it's funny, he's a Norris finalist this year, and you could argue that Cale Makar struggled a little bit compared to his lofty expectations from the fan base. Like, you can actually make that argument. He's outplaying what he did in the regular season. Cale's my 1-star, Georgiev's my 2, and then you can make a selection of McKinnon, Wood for your 3rd.
Yeah, Quinn Hughes is going to win the Norris. Great. Cale didn't even need to play at this level tonight or in this series at all, because I know he has that level in him, and that level will come out eventually, and that level is the best defenseman in hockey. It's not close. It hasn't been close. It will continue to not be close, regardless of how many Norrises he racks up. The key play and everything he did was great, but on the game-tying goal, early in the 3rd period, he receives a puck on a zone entry. Good, little tic-tac-toe passing to set up some space on the offensive zone entry. Puck ends up on Cale's stick on the top left side, and he bodies up Joe Pavelski. He boxes him the hell out, uses his butt to protect the puck away from Joe Pavelski, and he fires that puck on net. The rebound is controlled by Rantanen. Little slick, sneaky pass. Mikko had a great game. I mean, Mikko hits a crossbar in the 3rd period that went bar down off of a face-off win. That thing should have gone in.
Other than the penalty was not great. Other than the penalty, I thought he was good. The pass to McKinnon is stellar. The shot off the face-off was excellent.
But Makar botting up and owning Joe Pavelski. Joe Pavelski is 39 years old. In a 7-game series that Joe Pavelski just played in against the Vegas Golden Knights, you want to know how many points Joe Pavelski had in that series? 0. He had an assist tonight.
Pavelski had 0 points in that series. Roope Hintz had 1 solitary assist in that series. He gets the primary on the Wyatt Johnston goal because he wins the faceoff. Hintz stays off the score sheet, almost won the game at the end of the 3rd period.
And he misses the net.
Roofed it.
He does not even put that puck on Alexander Georgiev. Doesn't even go 5-hole. We saw Georgiev get beat 5-hole late in the season multiple times on rushes. Look, Cale Makar, in my mind, completely owning Joe Pavelski on that play. I mean, the future is now, old man. The future is now.
Let's head on back out to the phone lines. Arlie, you're next. You want to talk about Woody? What's up?
Boys, I just want to say who would score the game-winning goal.
Hey, my God.
All right, that's a different variety of Wood jokes.
Miles Wood.
Yes, sir. He would. Who would score?
Miles sure would score.
Who's on first?
I love it. Keep
Wood's
it quick.
on first.
Hey, it's better than the alternative if you keep him short and sexy. Ryan, you're next on Between the Pipes with Raj and Spring. What you got?
Hey, how you doing, Raj?
Doing
Spring?
well. How are you?
Doing great.
Excellent. I just wanted to talk about how, I believe it was back in November, Colorado at Dallas goes down 3-0. Comes back, of course, the next 6 goals. Colorado at Dallas, a month or 2 later, They're down by 2 goals, come back, win again. Here we are tonight, down 3 goals, come back, win again. You have to think that Dallas, in the back of their mind there, can't protect, like they can't feel like any lead that they build is safe against this team.
100%. 100%. Yeah, no, I mean, it absolutely entered my headspace tonight. The blown 3-0 lead in Dallas in mid-November, down there in Texas, where the Stars were up 3-0 and the Avs stormed back and won 6-3. And I wonder if that's got to be in your mind if you're Dallas tonight. I mean, these are human beings. They know who they're playing. They know they will think about previous games in the season, and yeah, they're up 3-0, but Nichushkin scores and it's 3-1. You can't tell me that somebody on the Dallas Stars didn't think to themselves, uh-oh, here we go again. But, I mean, the Avs can do this against a number of teams. They had, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we would see them throughout the season. The amount of multi-goal comebacks that the Avs had this season, the amount of third period comebacks that the Avs had this season, comebacks where they trailed going into the third period. So regardless of any comeback history against the Dallas Stars, I mean, this team has proven all season long that they can come back, not just in individual games, but from down stretches as well.
Without a doubt. Avs win 4-3 in overtime in Game 1. Join us again, 303-504-0925 on the Champ Mazda text line. You can join us on twitch.tv/AltitudeSR on the Safeway Twitch stream. One more call before we hit our final break of the program. Jared, you're in Dallas behind enemy lines today. How are you alive?
The boys are buzzing. Let's leave it at that. We were getting middle fingers from fans in front of us when we were down 3-rip, and oh, was it sweet.
That's actually very interesting to hear there, and we appreciate the phone call. I referenced this on the Blitz tonight because I had seen on Twitter during the Stars Knights series that there was a Knights fan born and raised in Las Vegas, now living in San Antonio, Texas, who adopted his hometown Knights as his favorite team as they became an expansion team. So he makes the drive from San Antonio to Dallas to support his Vegas Golden Knights. It was one of the first 2 games of the series where the Knights won in Dallas, and he's just minding his own business after the game, and he got sucker punched by a Stars fan and broke his face. The images of him on Twitter were disgusting. So stay classy, Dallas Stars fans. Flipping middle fingers to our boy there. Relax, guys. It's just a hockey game. It'll be okay.
Avalanche Hockey on the Altitude Radio Network is brought to you by Mountain High Appliance. Visit the clearance center for new discounted or scratched appliances up to 60% off. That's mountainhighappliance.com. Alex Ryan-Emmy alongside Mark Springer. Avs win 4-3 in overtime. We'll tell you about the other game in the National Hockey League, a double overtime game on Broadway between the Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll also get you some winners for tomorrow on Bet the Pipes. Mark Springer, Alex Ryan-Emmy. It's Altitude Sports Radio.
Mikko Rantanen now for Val Nichushkin. Steps aside Robertson. Nichushkin leaves it for McKinnon. Even further back for Cale Makar. Leans into his man. Still has the puck. Makar's shot. Tipped wide. Wide open net. Score! The Mac attack is back, Jack. His third goal of the playoffs. And 39 seconds into the third period, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, this is a tie hockey game. Makar escaped high in the zone off a stick check from Joe Pavelski. He let a shot go. It deflected wide past Mikko Rantanen. McKinnon was behind him almost with no angle, and he puts it into a wide open net. Ottinger didn't know where the puck was. And so the Avalanche, down 3-0, have tied this game at 3 goals apiece.
Nathan McKinnon, multi-point night yet again, ties the game 39 seconds into overtime, into the third period. Avs would then go to overtime with the Stars. They score 4 unanswered goals. It's capped off by Miles Wood's first overtime goal in his career. Avs win game 1, 4-3 in overtime. They were 1 Arturi Lehkonen point away from being just the second trio of 5 teammates in National Hockey League history to have simultaneous point streaks of 6 games or more. McKinnon, Rantanen, Makar, and Nichushkin now have scored at least a point in every single game this postseason. Now 6 games. Lehkonen goes pointless tonight. But fantastic outside. Like his puck pursuit is so damn good. Every time he's on the ice, I love watching him.
He didn't have a point tonight. I don't care. No, he was everywhere. Again, he was diving for loose pucks again. No, Lehkonen is just a great player. But those 4 players, Rod, that's a great stat. There's a great stat you just gave, because I tell you what, that top 4, those are the Avs' 4 best players. Makar, McKinnon, Rantanen, Nichushkin. That's the best top 4 in the league. That is the best top 4 in the league. And I've known that that's the best top 4 in the league for well over a year now. And it's why, despite any struggles that the Avs might have, no team in the NHL has a top 4 like that.
No, they certainly don't. And the only other guys who have done it were the Boston Bruins in 1970, when Bobby Orr had a point streak of 14 games. Phil Esposito had a point streak of 12 games. Johnny Buck had a point streak of 9 games. All 3 of those guys are Hockey Hall of Famers. One is arguably the greatest defenseman ever to play the game. The second of which is one of the greatest centermen ever to play in Phil Esposito. And Johnny Buck as a Hall of Famer is not far behind either one of those guys. That was a really, really solid Bruins team in the 70s. They won a Stanley Cup championship in 96, 90, or 69 and 70. Nice. They end up losing to the quarterfinals the following year to a really good Montreal Canadiens team who won the cup that year. You're not only looking at the best 5 in hockey right now, you're looking at, when it's all said and done, 2 decades from now, people will be talking about that group of 3, 4, 5 players in the same light as I can wax poetic about those Boston Bruins teams with Esposito and Buck and Orr and Gary Cheevers. You will say the same thing about Makar, McKinnon, Rantanen, Nichushkin, Lehkonen.
It's why, even though there were questions in goal, despite Alexander Georgiev showing in his 2-year Avalanche tenure that he can have stretches where he is a very good goaltender. We've referenced the prospect that he was, the roadblock of Igor Shesterkin with the New York Rangers, but still, despite questions there, despite questions with the size of the Avs defensively, maybe some bottom 6 questions that I think were really answered at the trade deadline, though, despite questions with second-line center that were absolutely answered with Casey Middlestat at the trade deadline, despite any questions that there are with this team, when you have that top 4, when you have those 4 players on your team, you are never out of it. That is why they've had as many multi-goal comebacks as they've had this season. Third period comebacks. responses after poor stretches. Because when you have top-end talent like that, you are never dead.
No, without a doubt, you are not dead. Another heart-stopping game tonight in the NHL. A couple of blowouts in the NBA. The Celtics crush the Cavs. OKC crushes Dallas. But on the ice, man, we had some heart stoppers. And New York and Carolina was... it was a back and forth game, much like game one was. You had a 3-point night from Sebastian Aho with the Hurricanes. They get out to a 2-1 lead. They scored with 6 seconds to go in the opening frame there, but the Rangers get a late third period goal, tie this thing up, send it into overtime. They hold on for dear life in the first OT period and then win it in the second on a really weird play, a little rebound from Vinny Trocheck to end this thing 4-3. And the Rangers, they hold serve in a series in which they were dogs, despite being the President's Trophy winners. They were underdogs in this series, underdogs in each one of these first two home games. They're up 2-0 going away to Carolina now.
That, Raj, was your Stanley Cup prediction before these playoffs started, was Avs Rangers. That would be Shesterkin versus Georgiev. Hey, Hollywood, you want to write the scripts? I'll help you with your treatment. That would be a good one right there.
Chris Kreider scores his third of the postseason on the power play in the third to send that one to OT. Alexis Lafreniere scored 2. He scored 10 minutes into the first period to open up the scoring in this game. Jake Gensel had a couple. So while I still believe Carolina doesn't have the guy, Jake Gensel's as close as they got.
You're acquiring your guy at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
You need to already have your guy.
Yeah.
And Alexis Lafreniere, man, when I saw him score that goal, I was keeping an eye on it during the blitz, and like he scores the goal, he celebrates, and you get a good close up look on him. He's coming into that man body now. Like he's not looking like the kid anymore. 18-year-old kid. He's starting to look like. He's growing up. I can see it in his face.
He's looking like he is worth the number 1 overall pick. I still think Capo Caco is far behind. That's
if you can go 1 for 2 though, you'll take that.
Yeah, Lafreniere's been legit. He's a good player for them. Again, Rangers up 2-0 in that series. Avs up 1-0. In their series. Before we get into some Bet the Pipes tonight, Spring, final thoughts on the Avs overtime win, a thrilling OT win. I think we've touched everything tonight.
Yeah.
Georgiev stellar. The play from Josh Manson reminds me back of a play. I don't know if you remember this. 2001 conference semifinal. The Avs have to go 7 games against the Los Angeles Kings. Really good LA Kings team. Luke Robitaille's on that team. The Avs had taken away Rob Blake from the Kings a couple of years previous. They shut out the Avs in back-to-back 1-0 games, including one that was a double OT game. Do you remember Ray Bourque saving a puck out of midair in that series? It's something that always stuck out to me. That second period of game number 2. Avs are at home. They're on the power play midway through the second period. Puck goes back against the Avs. LA goes on an odd man rush. Wah makes the save, and the puck is about to trickle in past him for a shorthanded goal. And if that goes in, chances are Avs don't win that game. They certainly don't shut out LA like they did 2-0. But Bourque bats a puck out of midair. They go on to win that game 2-0. They win the series in 7 games. They beat St. Louis in the Cup final. And then in 7 games, in one of the greatest Stanley Cup finals that we've seen in the past 30 years, they beat Marty Brodeur and the Devils. And we get the amazing cup handoff from Joe Sakic to Ray Bourque. When you talked about the Manson save, while he's not Ray Bourque, that reminded me of the Bourque play.
We were talking during the break. You were looking up, how Drew Hellison is faring in the Ducks system, and that second round pick that they also traded to get Josh Manson. And it was a great move at the time. The Avs were in a win now mode, and they Hellison, you said, Raj, he hasn't even played for the Ducks.
Not this year.
The second round pick's looking promising, but he's not in the NHL yet. The Avs just simply didn't have time for that. So it really became a question of, remember, after they win the Cup, are they going to re-sign Josh Manson? Maybe they would. They didn't really have the money for Kadri, but Kadri and Manson are only making a couple $1 million in difference. Like, they could have made it work if they wanted
What's
to.
Kadri making right now?
Is it like 6.5-ish, 7? Manson's 4.5. But they committed years to him. What was it?
$7 million.
$7 million. Okay, so maybe a little, $2.5 million difference between Manson and Kadri. But you need Josh Manson, especially knowing that they were going to move on from Eric Johnson, the previous big right-handed shot. They needed Josh Manson. Where would this D-core be without Josh Manson?
I would agree with you, man.
And he's the one guy who really. And hey, look, we talked earlier in the program about the 5 hits that Sam Girard laid and the 5 hits that Sean Walker laid. A couple dudes who are sub 6 foot tall. Love the physicality, but you also need more of an intimidating presence, and that's Josh Manson. And he puts his body on the line. He throws big hits. He makes saves. This is now a thing. When you do it more than once, now it's a thing. Where would they be without Josh Manson? And the decision to not just trade for him, but to extend him, it's proving to be a terrific decision, and it proves better by the day.
All right, Spring, 2 games tomorrow, Boston and Florida. The Bruins hammered the Panthers 5-1 in Game 1. Jeremy Swayman is putting on an otherworldly performance in net through his first few games, his first 8 games of the postseason thus far. He has been sensational. He was just like that. He's got a 142 goals against average and a 955 save percentage, and the dude has played like 6 games out of the 8 that they've seen so far. Bruins are plus 150 road dogs in Game 2 on the road against the Panthers. Edmonton minus 130 road favorites against the Vancouver Canucks, who won the Pacific Division this year. Anything standing out to you? Over under in the Edmonton game is 6.5. Over under in the Boston game is 5.5.
This might be simple, not the best value, but I was seeing Oilers money line at minus 140-ish. So, if maybe you want to take the minus 1.5, find something to parlay with Oilers minus 140, or you're not. I mean, it's not terrible value south of even money. I do like the Oilers in this series for sure. I had seen that they were like minus 250 to win this series. That is quite the aggressive statement, considering that Vancouver won the Pacific Division. But here's the thing. Here's the key for Edmonton, okay? Zach Hyman really was exactly what they needed. An extra, like the season he had, like that is a dangerous top to bottom forward group. I still need to see an Evan Bouchard play at a level like a Cale Makar. I'm not sure he has that in him. Stuart Skinner and Alexander Georgiev, to me, is a very even goaltending matchup, and those have been 2 goaltenders that I've kind of looked at in the same vein the entire season. My point is, I understand why Edmonton is minus 250 in this series over Vancouver. The Avs and the Oilers, if you've looked at the Western Conference odds all season long, those teams have been neck and neck. So I do think Edmonton is coming out of this series. I do think we're getting a rematch of 2022. So I'll go with Edmonton in Game 1 at minus 140 or whatever it is.
I'm not in love with any of the sides. I'm also not in love with any of the over-unders on tomorrow. I'm not feeling them. What I do love in the Edmonton-Vancouver game are defensemen. I'm going to take the over 2.5 shots and parlay them each for Evan Bouchard with the Oilers and Quinn Hughes with the Canucks. You parlay those both over 2.5 shots on goal, you'll get plus 287. So that's my pick for
Let's
tomorrow.
go. Let's stay hot.
Stay hot. Avs win 4-3 in overtime. That'll do it for us for tonight. For all of you guys who stayed up late with us on Twitch, who texted in, who called in, Cup Champs, Bandit, Corin, Sports Guy, Cole, Eli, Vertac, Harvman, Damn Care Bear, cast of thousands in there. We love and appreciate you guys as always, much like I do with super producer Steve Nelson.
That's what I appreciate about you.
As always, my friend, for Mark Springer, I'm Alex Ryanemi. Join us on Thursday live from Parker Garage with our friends at Templeton Whiskey. We're going to be out there for the pregame show. We'll watch it with you guys, have a beer or two, enjoy some great food, great company. Pack that place out. We cannot wait to see you for a live broadcast with pregame show, Birdo, me, Spring, Between the Pipes, all of it from Parker Garage on Thursday evening. And a last little note for you guys, the Altitude Radio Network broadcasts live from our Backus and Shanker studios. If you've been injured in a serious car accident, you're going to want to hire a law firm with winning results. That's Backus and Shanker. Their passion is justice. Avs win 4-3 in overtime. Tune in tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. because the winning head coach is going to be on with Mosier, Lombardi, and Kane. That's Jared Bednar, 8 a.m. tomorrow on Denver's exclusive home for Avs playoff hockey, Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.